Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to start reviewing specific projects again, such as SUI protocol, SUI, that's what we're going to do in this video, because I think altcoin season is about to start. And I think it's going to be a relatively long one. It could be like 2 or 3 years, maybe even 4, because this particular cycle is stretched out. But we are starting to see the signs that the altcoin market is about to start showing action. So this is a good time for me to start diving back into projects again, as there will be high ROI in doing research instead of just research and then the market goes down forever. Those periods seem to be closing out, and so it's good to do the work now because there might actually be a payout for it. So things are different this cycle as they are in any cycle, and I'm going to review this project in the context of where I see things going for this particular cycle and where things will matter and who's going to be the winners of this cycle. So, and I'll explain in this video what I see as being the important things. So let's start off with infrastructure, like SUI as an infrastructure play. It's got 300,000 transactions per second compared to Solana's 65,000. Finality is relatively the same. It's a lot cheaper than Solana. Model is distributed proof of stake. Validators, it's much less decentralized than Solana. That's probably why it's so fast. And developer programming language is the Move programming language with 150 full-time devs, 750 active. Solana is about 5 times bigger in those numbers. SUI is the main market is assets, games, novel applications. So it wants to be the infrastructure that houses digital assets. Solana is DeFi, so that's a similar narrative. NFTs, payments, so they're both the same thing, which is basically infrastructure for digital assets, logic, on-chain. What is it called? The Turing completeness. As far as interoperability, they're both interoperability into the other chain systems. All right, the team, Mistin Labs, former Facebook DM project. That was a project that was kind of killed by the politicians back in the day. So a lot of those people went to the SUI project. The CEO of Meta, Apple, CEO has experience at Meta. He worked at an Apple compiler, so he's very well educated in computers. Object-oriented approach to his development approaches. Chief Product Officer, Head of Product, Novi, emphasizes fixed supply to SUI. Okay, so there is a fixed supply. These are, I always mention like the most important characters of any particular case. So it seems like this project is going to be influenced by former Facebook team projects, etc. Funding, very well-funded project with hundreds of millions raised. Okay, so that's one of the reasons you're going to see this project well advertised, because there's a lot of money backing it. So those rich investors want to get a return on the investment, so they're going to pay for advertising, and they're going to pay for integrations and pay for those kind of relationships. So it is heavily VC funded, just like Solana, and that turns out to work sometimes it doesn't. Token function is it's a governance token, which means the token controls the future of the protocol. That's a good thing. Staking and security. The token is used to run the network. It is the actual component of control of the network. It's used for gas fees, on-chain unit of account. But guess what? Well, okay, I guess gas fees will matter if there's millions or trillions of transactions. Even though the fee is little, if it gets automated systems on top of it, those gas fees will get utilized. On-chain unit of account. Validators earn this from fees, so basically it's a revenue model. Basically, you can think of this as a company. If it gets adoption, if it gets successful clients, then it'll do extremely well. That's what you're hoping for. Yeah, and so that's the information there. All right, so this is where I'm going to do different things a little bit differently than the other cycle, is we're going to look at things from the AI perspective, because my thesis is the biggest users of blockchain is not going to be humans, it's going to be AI deployed by humans. AI is going to do most of the integrations into blockchains. So if any blockchain is going to be successful, it has to have an agentic approach or an artificial intelligence approach. So that means Who's going to be the winners? Well, Ethereum's already going to win because it's already got huge amounts of liquidity. It's not going away. I don't care what anyone says. Ethereum's not going away. It's got a huge amount of liquidity. Even if it ends up getting overtaken by some other protocol, it's still going to have a lot of liquidity parked on it, and that will always ensure that it has some place as the future of blockchain infrastructure, because it is a secure, it's upgrading, and there's representatives that control, that look to make that Ethereum as a company do well. And since it already has this position, I mean, it's, what is it, 218 billion. This is the market cap to products, what am I saying here? This is the amount of money on each system to its market cap. So with SUI, it's got a 3% evaluation compared to its market cap. With Solana, it's 17%, and with Ethereum, it's half. So this looks like an argument for Ethereum, if you take the amount of liquidity on Ethereum and double it, that's how big Ethereum's market cap is. But SUI's is about 3%. So it's like roughly 30 times more valuable per unit in its market cap, to at least from this angle, right? But obviously, so the market is saying that we think it will attract more liquidity in the future. Same thing with Solana, because Solana is about 1/5, or like 5 times more valuable or more expensive than Ethereum. Let's put it that way. So Ethereum is like a 2x compared to how much liquidity is on it. Solana is about 5x more valued than the liquidity on it. This one is about 30x more valued than the liquidity on it. So the market is saying SUI, it's either the VCs are pumping it, or it is that the market believes, hey, this is going to get a lot of liquidity. It's going to attract that liquidity. But we have to look at things from an agentic framework. We have to look at things from an artificial intelligence framework, because that's pretty much going to be, I think, 80% of the value of a blockchain is going to be how much adoption it gets from artificial intelligence. That is going to be the key in who survives this cycle. It's going to be who gets agents. So regarding agents, you got payments, records, block space. They're going to be using tamper-proof records. That's what these blockchains are used for. Digital assets, speed, fee, cost, whatever. I only really did find one project that looked to be legitimate. The other ones didn't have disclosed team members. That's not a good sign, so I don't even report them. There's a lot of projects that I found that, so it's a lot of research that for agentic projects on SUI, but I didn't really find any with teams that were public. So that's a very negative thing. This is the only one that I really found, and I don't like it because, it's just an AI content production thing, and it raises, it does have the potential to raise income for SUI from transactions from content providers making AI content on SUI, and that would be that angle. It does have the only reason I've reported on this one is because it does have a successful person associated who's made a successful business in the future, or has made a successful business in India, where he's got 800 million users and he's raised about $3 million. Look at that as you will, but that was the most successful agentic framework that I saw, which in my opinion, it looks weak from that angle. So it looks like a weak contender from an agentic AI framework perspective. So not the best looking thing there. As far as block costs, AI will use this. Because if they have everything else in place, an AI could use this because it's the cheapest one. So it might just win just from that fact alone. That could be enough for for SUI to win alone right here, because this might end up being the most important factor anyways, because agents are going to have no bias in what system they adopt for their users, because they will easily switch between Solana, SUI, and Ethereum based on their needs. But, if the liquidity, they'll have to do the math on liquidity, and if they dump or buy assets and they move the market a little bit, then they're going to go with more liquidity systems like Ethereum. But if they are doing something more transaction-based, they might prefer to use SUI. So those are the things you got to think about with the future of adoption here. All right, and so that's basically it. That's my analysis of SUI. So the things that are most likely going to lead to adoption are this low transaction fee right here, and the things that are most likely to lead to Failure is it doesn't really have any strong ecosystem for agents. There's very few that I saw with disclosed teams. There's a lot listed, but they didn't have a lot of disclosed teams with good records. So that is my analysis of the SUI ecosystem. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate just for saying anything negative about a project. It could be successful. I try to present both sides of the argument. I'm going to try to show the positive and the negative. Positive being low transaction fee cost. That's basically its biggest bet here, and that's a very strong case, and it does have a weak case for the ecosystem, but that could change because VCs might have to end up, if they really want it to be successful, or they could just capture a narrative. In this crypto ecosystem, since SUI's already around, it could just run for the cycle, and you can get rich from the cycle and just dump it and get, I wouldn't suggest holding any crypto through a cycle because, as you can see, they all basically lose all their value. All right, so that's my analysis of SUI, and then stay tuned, and I'll start looking specifically into what projects I think will be successful and see if we can spot some of those winners for this next altcoin cycle. All right, later, guys.